There we go.
Starts out as allergies. Does this today? I'll get a sinus infection. Well,
There we go.
for that.
That's what normally happens.
Yeah. He's stinking here.
That's really annoying.
It is, but it gets over. It hasn't been my whole life. It's just since we moved out here.
That's a lot of your life.
30 years. Yeah,
30
that's
years.
true. Yeah. It is.
More than half.
That's right.
Okay.
I have no idea. Next Friday.
Next Friday.
Next Friday.
Let's.
Graduation.
Oh. Okay. So we left off at on page 102. I'm going to get this out so you can follow along. Oh, you can't see it?
My eyes are just-
Okay. Okay. I was going to set that up so you can read it off the book. Okay. So number 17.
That means I'm on.
Yes. Yes, you're on.
Jesus autas uk ebaptizen. Did we do that one? There was another one with baptizen.
Yes.
Ebaptizen en al hoi mathetai autu.
Okay.
My rough is barely different than the other, but Jesus himself not baptizing, but the disciples of him. So Jesus himself was not baptizing, but his disciples.
Okay.
Should there be a were, but his disciples?
I actually added, but his disciples were baptizing. But his disciples were baptizing.
Okay.
I'd take that as an ellipsis, but that's okay. So,
Because we can infer it.
yes.
What is the function of autos in this sentence? Why can autos not be the subject of ebaptizen? Well, I said that it was to emphasize that it was Jesus himself.
Okay. So they call that the intensive function.
Intensive, yep. And why can it not be the subject of ebaptizen? Because that's a verb. Why can't it be the subject of? Because, well, isn't it kind of?
Is what?
Isn't himself part of the subject, Jesus himself?
It is, but there's a reason in this particular sentence that it's not.
I don't know what it is.
It's the fact that we have a proper noun that's in the nominative case
Oh,
is
so-
functioning as a subject.
But if we didn't, then it could be.
Then it could, yes.
Okay. Is the epsilon of ebaptizen a syllabic or temporal augment? I said syllabic.
Okay.
What's the difference? One adds a syllable.
Okay. And it adds a syllable because
Since it adds a vowel before the consonant.
you do. And you have a syllable for every vowel or diphthong.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, you're right, Tim. Hoi mathetai is the subject of the implied verb ebaptizen based on context and its connection with the phrase Jesus autas uk ebaptizen. The purpose of this construction is to avoid redundancy.
Which is why I added, but his disciples were baptizing.
Right.
Okay. I'll do the next one so you don't have to do every one of them. I think that'll mean you only have to do two. I'll do two.
I'm still gonna have to not answer some of the questions, I think, but we're gonna roll with it.
So, etoimazen hoi apostoloi tas cardias autun kai ke ekerusan ta euangelion hamartois. They were preparing, the apostles, the hearts, theirs, and were heralding the gospel to sinners. Or hopefully a better rendering, the apostles were preparing their hearts and were heralding the good news to sinners. Is this sentence a compound sentence or a complex sentence? This is compound because it joins two independent clauses. We could say that the apostles are preparing hearts, and we could say, and they are heralding. And you could just go with they are heralding. You would have an undefined subject in that case, but it could function as an independent clause. Complex sentences where you have two clauses where one's a main clause and one is a dependent clause. B, is tas cardias genitive singular feminine, ablative singular feminine, or accusative plural feminine? And I said accusative plural because it is the object of the verb. The apostles are preparing what? They're preparing the hearts. They're preparing the hearts. And then is hamartolos dative, locative, or instrumental in this sentence? And I took it as dative because they are the recipients of the heralding. They're heralding to them.
That's what I also said.
Okay.
Tu kuriu gar hege kai ta pleroma autes. The Lord for the land, had to be for the land and the fullness of it. So I actually looked this one up and I can't figure out how they got to where they got. But what it's supposed to be is for the earth is the Lord's and the fullness of it. And I couldn't get to the earth is the Lord's.
Okay.
I don't understand how
Number one,
that happened.
what's our verb in this sentence?
Is.
I mean,
Is.
there's not one.
Technically, there's not one. There's an implied verb. Peggy's right, is. Okay.
Right, but how did we get there?
Okay, so do we have a nominative noun in this sentence?
Hey, gay.
Hege. Okay, is there any other nominative noun in that sentence?
No.
Ta pleroma is also a nominative. So we have two,
Fullness. Okay.
the fullness.
You're right.
So we have two nominative nouns. So what is tu kuriu?
Even though fullness is a weird noun, curio is genitive ablative.
Okay. So it is modifying what? Well, I should have. Is it genitive or ablative? I let the cat out of that bag.
Well, without knowing the context, I feel like we could say it's either.
Okay. So you could say,
For from the Lord, the land and the fullness.
right,
That doesn't make sense.
right.
And then the other way that I would do it is say the Lord's or of the Lord.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that would be taking that in a genitive sense. So you're modifying hey gay, and you're modifying ta pleroma.
But I didn't modify hey gay. You did.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. If it's genitive, then we're modifying that by making it possessive. Okay. Now, I did not bring my, well, I don't, that, let me look something up
Okay,
here.
that's fine that we're making it possessive, but I still, when I do that, normally I would say the Lord's land. Not the land is the Lord's.
You could say for the Lord's land and the fullness of it.
But we get no verb. No, it's not a sentence.
Right. Oh, I see what I did here.
I understand that it makes the most sense, but am I forgetting a rule that says that's how we do that?
Well, this is,
That's my problem.
this is, let me pull up. This is from 1 Corinthians 10:26.
Yep.
It is, let me do this also real quick. No. What did I do here? That's not what I want. I'm trying to. Okay. The sentence starts with a conjunction. So this is what I'm trying to do here, and I am not. Let's go back over here again. This is a quotation. At least most people believe it's a quotation from Psalm 24:1, where it says it's a Psalm of David. It says, and it's in the Hebrew, the term the Lord or Yahweh has a lamed prefix, which is a preposition. It's prefixed to that, and lamed would mean for. Okay, so it's number one way I normally would translate it out of Hebrew. So for the Lord, and then you have to provide an is, because it's a verbalist clause in Hebrew, just like in Greek. For the Lord is the earth and its fullness. In other words, it's for him. So their idea, so the closest we get to when we say the earth is the Lord's, it's kind of a similar way of showing possession in that way, coming out of the Hebrew. Not always, but
They put Lord first because
and you actually have it that way in the Greek too. But that's the way it is in the sentence. Yeah, it says, yeah. What? And see, just put it this way, just as an illustration out of this, let me.
Can you remind me what chapter we talked about verbalist clauses?
No, I can't tell you what chapter we talked about verbalist clauses in right now. I apologize.
That's okay.
I'm going to pull something up here. Oh, you're going to try and find that. Okay, so I'm going to put this up here so you can kind of see. Just going back to the Hebrew, this.
Yeah, that
Okay.
hurts.
So this is what is this again? This is from Psalm 24, I think. This is Psalm 24:1. And the heading to this psalm is La David, or we would say La David. Here's this preposition. Here's the name David. And then it says, then a psalm. So for we translate a Psalm of David. That's what we're saying. There's the word psalm here. It's after this. But then we come to the next phrase that we have here, and it's I'm trying to think. What did I just say? La Haaretz. La Haaretz. So again, we have this, or no, I'm getting things mixed up in my head. That's for Jehovah. Okay. Yahweh. So this starts off a Psalm of David, and then right away, then we have this of the Lord. So we say a psalm from David, belonging to David in some way. It's the way they normally translate it in this. So this would be belonging to the Lord, kind of somewhat similar to this. And then it says Haaretz and its fullness afterward. So I'm just trying to show you in the Hebrew, right there, back to back in the introduction to the psalm. Some psalms have introductions that are part of the Hebrew text. Okay, so they're translated in your Bible. They're not a heading that modern editors added to the psalm saying, hey, this is a psalm of David's joy. It's actually, no, they have some that actually say it's a psalm of David. It's a psalm of David that was sung at this time of the year and things like that. So in that lamed preposition there on that first in the introduction actually is helpful in illustrating how it's used with Jehovah. Now that then coming to Paul's translation, representation of that here in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, then I would understand that to mean that the earth and the fullness belong to the Lord. You could even say, because you could say the same thing here with La David. You could say, this is a psalm that comes from David. And so you could say something similar here, where you could say the earth and its fullness are from the Lord. And let me go back to, I want to share, where's this? So I'm looking at the Greek text here. Let's get rid of the Hebrew. We don't need that anymore. I want to look at.
Oh, okay.
Well, chapter 7 is the one about the Greek sentence. So it should be.
So this is the context then in 1 Corinthians 10. He says in verse 23, all things are lawful, all things are not necessarily beneficial, all things are lawful, but not all things build up. So let no one seek his own good, but that of his neighbor. So eat anything that is sold in the market without asking questions for the conscience sake. So he says, don't worry about eating it. And then he makes this quotation from the Psalm, for the earth is the Lord's and all it contains. Or we could take it, for the earth and all it contains, or its fullness, is from the Lord, meaning it's all good. So a case could be made either direction. There may be Hebrew people that would make a stronger case for the fact that this has to be indicating possession here, but that's not always the case. So we could be taking it that it is from. There is a pronoun preposition, the min preposition normally is prefixed to a word when it indicates that something comes from somebody else. And we have a number of those in Hebrew, and David doesn't use that. He says for, so indicating possession rather than perhaps source. But I could see the case in the context where Paul would be saying, hey, just eat it, because everything on the earth and everything that is in its fullness, it is all from the Lord. Just enjoy it and don't make a big deal about it. Don't ask any questions. So that kind of provides some context background for maybe translating it.
I'm just trying to find the rules for when there's no verb.
Oh, when we don't have a verbless clause. Did you find something yet, Peggy? Okay, so what is the question on a verbless clause that you have specifically here?
I don't have a specific question, I guess, except for that I have to remember that if there's no verb, then we imply a verb.
Right. And obviously your English Bibles are translating it that way. For the earth is the Lord's and all it contains. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's correct.
Well, but it makes sense, except for that, like, it's just a weird sentence anyway. It's a quotation, like I said, from the Psalms, right.
and yeah. When we have the is in there, however we ended up taking the Lord, the is in there is going to be either saying the earth belongs to the Lord or the earth is from the Lord. One way or another, you're going to still end up putting in an is in that context,
right?
Because as we've said, you don't need. I'm just trying to see. I was just trying to look to see if there was a statement on verbless clauses that was listed in. I like good indexes in books. I use indexes a lot, and the index, you probably checked it, and it doesn't give you any help there. It's probably our Google people. They called us a little while ago.
Google people?
Yeah, asking us, they want to talk to us about our account, which we have none.
Peg with no voice goes to answer the phone.
Can I take a message? He's busy right now.
In this case, only other group
Is this about Wednesday's, his appointment?
Okay, meter nouns, translate. I think I just had a brain fart, and that's the problem. We're spending way too much time trying to figure this out.
It's all right. It's better to try to piece together. I'm just going to have to get back to you on what he sets down as rules for verbless clauses.
I don't think it's in here.
We have touched on
I
verbless.
mean, I know we've talked about it, but I don't think it's in the book. I looked and looked.
Okay.
But that's okay. Is
Okay.
Kudiu genitive singular masculine or ablative singular masculine? It's genitive singular masculine, the way that I translated it. On what do you base your answer? What made the most sense to me in the moment?
So go back to your translation. If you translate it without a verb, I'm just trying to.
Well, if you translate it without a verb, I said for the Lord's earth and the fullness of it.
Okay.
Which says the earth belongs to the Lord. I just didn't put.
You just didn't put an is in there. That's right. Yeah. So by adding a verb, we're just making it easier for English readers to make sense of what it says.
Right. So it makes the most sense, and it shows ownership. That's why I said that. How can you be sure that pleroma is neuter in gender? I said because of the lexical form, and it has a neuter definite article.
Okay.
And how can you be sure of the case? Because of the definite article.
You actually would have the same definite article, whether it's nominative or accusative in the neuter.
All the time.
So ta is the same in both places.
Well, then how? How can you be sure of the case?
I would say in this sentence, earth and pleroma are both functioning as subjects of an unstated verb.
Together, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Because we could say the earth and its fullness are the Lord's. We could write it that way. You could use are instead of is.
Mm-hmm.
So.
What is the antecedent of autes, the earth? On what do you base your answer? It matches in gender and number.
Okay. Okay. I'll go ahead and do the last one then.
Okay.
Rene autus kai Elias kai epi tan Israel tu thou. Peace is on them and mercy also on the Israel of thee God. And that's actually just pretty much straightforward. And that's exactly the way I would translate that statement.
I went dyslexic for a minute and wrote no instead of on. That's weird.
You're translating this one there. I'm just going to read it once again, just for clarity. So peace upon them. Peace is nominative, and autus is accusative. It's the object of the preposition epi, and then kai and Elias and mercy. And now we have two kais back to back. So it's peace and then mercy. And so when we have the two kais back to back, a lot of times we're going to translate the second one, either both or also. And in this case, also upon the Israel of God. So what part of speech is, I'm going to let you answer these questions, but what part of speech is kai?
A conjunction.
Okay. And how is kai used in this sentence?
To join ideas and add thoughts.
Okay. It's
anything else?
Yeah, I said it's to express an addition within a sentence, and it also is to join, and I think I misspelled what I was trying to write here, but it adds a second direct object in this case, because the first one is upon them, and then it adds then a second direct object, which
Israel.
would be Tan Israel. So locate autos.
Part of speech is a pronoun in the accusative case, plural and number, masculine and gender. The lexical form is autos. I put not applicable for declension. Is that right?
No, it actually is going to match a declension
Oh,
that it's modifying.
also then second, right?
Mhm.
And its function in the sentence. I wasn't sure.
Okay, what case is it?
Accusative.
Okay, so if it's accusative,
So
it
it's
usually
the
functions as a,
object
okay, and in this case,
of,
object also of the preposition epi.
right.
So it's not just the object of the sentence, but object of the verb, but object of the preposition.
Okay.
And then note that Israel is an indeclinable noun. An indeclinable noun is a noun whose form is the same in all cases. It never changes between cases in the sentence. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. It's just, I was thinking that there was one other thing on this, but I think that's good. Okay. There we go.
There we go. Chapter 12.
In the books,
Set match.
I guess.
I guess he says.
Well, I hope we're making progress.
Oh, we're getting there.
Now I had a question.
Last week.
Did we decide that we were going to try to do 13 before we finish for the summer? I was just trying to remember what the
Well,
decision was.
that was what you had said you thought we should do.
But you're going to be gone.
I'll be gone next Thursday. So I'll be here this Thursday and next Tuesday, and then I'll be gone next Thursday.
Okay. Okay.
And Joe is going to be gone this Tuesday.
But he'll be here Thursday. So you both be here for Thursday and
Mhm.
Tuesday. So he'll be here Thursday and Tuesday. Yeah.
Next Tuesday.
He just had to miss today because there was a training that he had to go to. So, imperfect, middle, and passive. I think we can do that. We already know the nature of the imperfect. We're just adding
A middle and passive.
middle and passive. It's going to be a rush to get through all the exercises, but I think we can do this. So, okay.
You
we
think
will
can do this in 3 classes? Is that what you're thinking?
I don't know about that. We will see what we can. We will see where we get on this.
Well, what's
And,
the other option
The other option would be to be finished
right now?
right now, and then just kind of start the summer session, and which will be, like I said, I'm going to try to be giving you some sentences out of scripture, so you've got a way to kind of check yourselves and work that way, and so try to give you at least one sentence to work on a week, and then some just kind of help you keep reviewing vocabulary, send some vocabulary out, and hopefully keep everybody fresh so it doesn't all fall into the mental trash bin over the summer.
I mean, it shouldn't be a lot to get through all that. It's just getting through it in class.
We're just going to have to really stay on task.
Right, getting through it at home is like that's on our own time, and we can figure out how to do that. But getting through it in class is what seems to take the most time. Maybe because I like to ask a lot of questions.
I always think when you ask good questions in a class or something, it helps you remember those things better. So, okay, well,
Okay. let's
We
do
will
it
be
then.
back on Thursday. And